In America, if you stop moving, you disappear. People walk past you as if you are a crack in the sidewalk, something to step over, never to look at. That was how Ethan Cole lived his life. No one knew his name. No one asked his story. To the city of New York, he was just another homeless man pushing a rusted shopping cart, digging through trash bags, collecting cans, wires, broken electronics, anything that could be sold for a few dollars at the recycling yard. Ethan was 35 years old, though his face looked older. Years of sleeping under bridges, behind abandoned buildings, and in subway stations had carved deep lines into his skin. His beard was uneven. His clothes always smelled of dust, metal, and rain. Every morning, before the city truly woke up, Ethan walked. He walked through alleyways soaked with last night's garbage. He walked past luxury apartments where rent cost more than he had earned in 10 years. He walked with his eyes trained on the ground, not because he was ashamed, but because that was where survival lived. Scrap paid in weight. Luck paid in silence. Ethan had once been someone else. Years ago, he had a small apartment in Queens, a job fixing appliances, a woman who smiled at him like the future was safe. Then came the accident. A drunk driver, medical bills, lost work, lost home, lost friends. America doesn't forgive pauses, so Ethan learned the rules of the invisible world. Rule 1, never trust kindness. Rule 2, never ask questions. Rule 3, never hope. Hope was dangerous. Hope got people killed, slowly. That morning, the sky was gray, heavy with rain that hadn't fallen yet. Ethan pushed his cart toward the industrial side of Brooklyn, where factories dumped things they didn't want anyone to trace. That was where the good scrap was. Behind an old warehouse, he found a pile of black trash bags stacked neatly, too neatly. That made him pause. Too clean, he muttered to himself. Clean trash meant someone wanted something gone. Still, hunger was louder than fear. He tore open the first bag, clothes. The second, paper, shredded documents. The third, his hands froze. Inside was a duffel bag, not torn, not dirty, heavy. Ethan looked around instinctively. No cameras, no people, just the hum of the city pretending not to care. He touched the zipper. For a long moment, he didn't open it. Rule 2 echoed in his head. Never ask questions, but curiosity had teeth. He unzipped the bag. What he saw didn't make sense. Bundles of cash, perfectly stacked, wrapped in bank straps, hundreds, thousands, too many to count. Ethan's breath stopped. "This isn't real," he whispered. He reached in, pulled out one bundle, flipped it open. Real paper, real ink, real weight. His knees gave out and he sat on the cold concrete, staring into the bag like it was a mouth that could swallow him whole. $10 million doesn't look like freedom. It looks like trouble. Ethan knew that immediately. Illegal money had a smell, fear, blood, panic. Whoever dumped this didn't lose it. They hid it, and now it was found by the worst possible person, a man with no address, no ID, no protection. Sirens echoed in the distance. Ethan slammed the zipper shut. His heart was pounding so loud he was sure the city could hear it. If I leave it, he thought, I stay invisible. If he took it, he would never be invisible again. Ethan stood up slowly, hands shaking, and made a decision that would fracture his life into before and after. He lifted the duffel bag and dropped it into his cart, covering it with scrap metal and cardboard. Then he walked. Not fast, not slow, like nothing had changed. But everything had. Behind him, the city kept breathing. Ahead of him, fate had finally noticed his name. Ethan didn't stop walking until his legs began to burn. Every sound felt louder than it should have been. The scrape of his cartwheels, the distant honk of traffic, even his own breathing. He kept his eyes forward, just another invisible man pushing junk through the city. But inside his chest, panic was running. $10 million sat under rusted metal and cardboard, not in a bank, not protected, not clean. By the time he reached the abandoned rail yard where he sometimes slept, the sky had finally opened up. Rain poured down, soaking everything, washing the city as if nothing wrong had happened. Ethan dragged his cart beneath a broken concrete overhang. His hands were shaking so badly he had to sit down. "This is how people die," he whispered. He had seen it before. Not this much money, but enough. Men who found something that didn't belong to them and thought the universe had smiled. It never did. Slowly, he pulled the duffel bag out. He counted until his head hurt, stacks upon stacks, every bundle marked, perfect. Whoever owned this money was organized. Dangerous people were always organized. Ethan tried to think. He couldn't go to a bank. No ID, no account. Even asking questions would light him up like a flare. He couldn't tell anyone, not other homeless people, not old friends if they were even alive, and he couldn't keep it all in one place. That was rule number 4, a rule he invented right then. Never let all your fear sleep in one spot. That night, Ethan didn't sleep. Every passing train sounded like footsteps. Every shadow looked like a man with a gun. He imagined police flashlights cutting through the dark, imagined voices asking questions he couldn't answer. Morning came like a threat. Ethan made his first move. He took one small bundle, just enough to survive, and hid the rest deep inside the rail yard, sealing the duffel bag inside a broken drainage pipe, covering it with trash and mud until it disappeared. Then he walked to a diner he had never dared enter before. "Coffee," he said, his voice cracking, "and eggs." The waitress looked at him, suspicious, but she served him. As he ate, Ethan realized something terrifying. For the first time in years, he wasn't hungry. And hunger had been the only thing keeping him honest. Money changes the way the world looks at you. But before that, it changes the way you look at the world. Ethan felt it the moment he stepped back onto the street. Every police car was no longer just a police car. Every stranger was no longer just a stranger. They were questions. He kept his head down, but his mind wouldn't shut up. What if someone saw me? What if the bag was tracked? What if this money is already marked? $10 million wasn't just cash. It was a shadow that followed him everywhere. Ethan knew one thing clearly. The rail yard was not safe forever. Nothing hidden in plain sight stayed hidden for long. That afternoon, he began moving the money, slowly, carefully. Not all of it. Never all of it. He split the cash into smaller portions, wrapping each one in plastic, sealing them tight. He used places no one respected enough to search. Inside a broken refrigerator behind an abandoned motel, buried beneath a dead dog in an empty lot, stuffed inside a cracked wall in a condemned building. Each hiding place hurt him in a different way. Because every time he walked away, he wondered if it would still be there when he came back. That night, as he lay under a bridge, Ethan realized something cruel. The money owned him now. He didn't dream of freedom. He dreamed of loss. Sirens screamed somewhere above. Footsteps passed. Laughter echoed. Ethan didn't move. He held his breath and understood the truth. $10 million could buy almost anything, except peace. New York always knows when something is wrong. Ethan felt it in the air. It started with small things. A police cruiser that passed him twice on the same block. A man in a hoodie who stood too long near the abandoned motel. A recycling yard owner who suddenly asked too many questions. "You find anything interesting lately?" the man asked casually, weighing Ethan's scrap. Ethan shrugged. "Just trash." But his mouth was dry. Money makes noise even when it stays silent. Ethan realized he couldn't live like this forever, sleeping under bridges, hiding cash in rotting places, jumping at every sound. The city wasn't built for people like him to suddenly change. Systems notice patterns. Patterns notice mistakes. So he made his second big decision. He needed to look normal. Normal people had showers. Normal people bought cheap clothes. Normal people paid cash and didn't explain why. Using a few $1,000s, Ethan rented the cheapest weekly motel room he could find under a fake name. The clerk didn't care. Cash erased curiosity. That night, standing under a hot shower, Ethan almost cried. Not from happiness, from fear, because comfort felt dangerous. The next morning, he stepped outside in clean clothes. And for the first time in years, people looked at him. Not with disgust, not with pity, with interest. And that scared him more than being invisible ever did. Across the street, a man lit a cigarette and watched him. Ethan walked. The man followed. The city had started watching. Ethan learned something quickly. Cash changes how people breathe around you. At the motel, the clerk smiled too much. At the diner, the waitress remembered his order. At the thrift store, the cashier offered discounts without being asked. None of them knew about the 10 million. They didn't need to. Money has a smell, and people sense it. Ethan became careful, too careful. He paid only in cash, small bills. Never the same place twice. He practiced being ordinary like it was a skill. But the man with the cigarette kept appearing. Outside the motel, near the diner, across the street at night, always watching, never approaching. Ethan named him in his head, the Shadow. One evening, as rain tapped against the motel window, Ethan made a mistake. He counted money too close to the glass. A silhouette paused outside. That night, someone tried his door. Just once. Just enough to let him know he wasn't alone anymore. Ethan sat on the bed, gripping a bundle of cash like it was a weapon. $10 million had announced his presence, and someone had answered. Ethan didn't sleep that night. Every creak of the motel sounded like a gun being cocked. He sat on the edge of the bed until dawn, fully dressed, a small knife in his hand. Not because he thought it would help, but because it made him feel less helpless. When morning came, he made a decision he had been avoiding. Cash was power, but too much cash was a confession. He couldn't live forever counting bills in cheap rooms. If he wanted to survive, he had to touch the system, without letting it touch him back. Banks were dangerous. Banks asked questions, but America ran on banks. Ethan spent the day watching. He sat across the street from a small local bank, drinking bad coffee, pretending to read a newspaper. He watched who went in, who came out, who got attention. Old people, small business owners, construction workers. Normal. By afternoon, he walked in. The air smelled like polish and rules. A young teller smiled at him. "How can I help you today?" Ethan slid a small stack of cash forward. Not too much, just enough to look boring. "I want to open an account," he said. "Basic, savings." The teller blinked. "Do you have ID?" There it was, the wall. Ethan smiled awkwardly. Lost it, waiting on a replacement. The smile disappeared. "I'm sorry, sir." "Sir." The word hit him harder than the refusal. He walked out calmly, but inside, panic screamed. Across the street, the Shadow stood near a bus stop, watching. Ethan didn't look back again. That night, he changed motels, changed routes, changed hiding places. But one thing didn't change. For the first time, he understood the truth. Money outside the system makes you a target. Money inside the system makes you a prisoner, and he was running out of places to stand. Loneliness had kept Ethan alive for years. Now it was becoming a weakness. Money doesn't like isolation. It attracts people the way blood attracts sharks. Ethan hadn't spoken to anyone from his past in a long time. There was only one number he still remembered by heart. Marcus Hale. Marcus had once been his friend. Back when Ethan fixed appliances and believed effort was enough, Marcus worked around the law now. Storage units, fake names, cash-only favors. Not a criminal king, just a man who knew how the cracks in America worked. Ethan stood outside a payphone for 10 minutes before dialing. "Marcus," he said when the voice answered. "It's Ethan." Silence. "I thought you were dead," Marcus finally said. "Not yet." They met in a bar that smelled like regret and cheap whiskey. Marcus studied him. Clean clothes, nervous eyes. "You don't call unless you're desperate," Marcus said. "So talk." Ethan didn't mention 10 million. He mentioned fear. Marcus leaned back slowly. "Cash like that doesn't fall from the sky," he said. "Someone's looking." "I know. And if you're holding it alone," Marcus added, "you won't hold it long." That was the moment Ethan understood something else. Help always costs more than money. Outside, a familiar figure stood across the street, the shadow, watching both of them. Ethan paid the bill and left without saying goodbye. Marcus watched him go, thinking. Thinking was dangerous. Ethan told himself one lie over and over. "I can control this." It was a comforting lie, a necessary one. But money doesn't wait for permission. The mistake didn't come from greed. It came from exhaustion. 3 days without real sleep had turned Ethan's thoughts into fog. He needed one thing badly: security, not safety. Security felt solid, real. So he broke his own rule. He moved too much money at once. Late at night, he drove a borrowed car to a self-storage facility on the edge of the city. Cash in a backpack, hood up, head down. The unit was cheap, cash only, no questions. Or so he thought. As he locked the metal door, he felt it. Eyes. Across the lot, a car idled, engine running, headlights off. Ethan froze. The car didn't move. Neither did he. After a long moment, Ethan walked away. Slow. Calm. But his hands were sweating. The next morning, the storage unit lock was broken. The backpack was gone. Not all the money, but enough. Ethan sat on the concrete floor, staring at the empty space. Someone had followed him. Someone had waited. The shadow had teeth. And now, the game had changed. Ethan didn't scream. He didn't cry. He just sat there, staring at the broken lock like it was a mirror. Panic is loud at first. Then it becomes quiet. Too quiet. He checked the unit again. Then again. As if the money might magically reappear if he looked hard enough. It didn't. Someone had been patient, professional, clean. This wasn't a random thief. This was someone who knew exactly what Ethan was carrying. He drove back into the city without realizing how fast he was going. Horns blared, lights blurred. His hands were numb on the steering wheel. 10 million was still alive, but it was bleeding. Back in his motel room, Ethan pulled out every remaining stash and counted. Less than before. Still more money than he had ever imagined. And yet, he felt poorer than ever. The door knock came at sunset. 3 sharp taps. Ethan's body locked up. "Management," a voice said. He didn't answer. The handle jiggled once, then stopped. That night, Ethan understood the final cost of panic. You don't make smart choices when you're afraid. You make fast ones, and fast choices always leave footprints. Outside, somewhere in the city, someone smiled, because fear had finally made Ethan predictable. The letter was thin, official, white, deadly. Ethan found it slipped under his motel door when he returned that evening. IRS, Internal Revenue Service. His hands went cold. He hadn't opened a bank account. He hadn't filed anything. He hadn't done anything. And yet, the system had felt a disturbance. Inside the envelope was a notice. Polite words, sharp meaning, unreported income, cash transactions, request for clarification. Clarification was how America said confession. Ethan sat on the bed, staring at the paper until the words blurred. $10 million wasn't just illegal money anymore. It was taxable, and unpaid taxes were louder than gunshots. He understood something most criminals learn too late. You can hide from people. You can run from gangs, but you cannot disappear from the government. The knock came again. Not management this time. "Police," a voice said. Ethan didn't breathe. He didn't move. After a long minute, footsteps faded. A test. The city was tightening around him, from both sides. Outside, Sirens wailed like warnings written in sound. Ethan folded the IRS letter carefully and hid it with the money. Blood money demanded blood, and now the law wanted its share. Ethan stood in front of the motel mirror and barely recognized himself. Clean face, trimmed beard, new jacket, still afraid. The money had changed his clothes, not his bones. He remembered the man he used to be, the one who believed that doing the right thing mattered. The one who fixed broken machines and thought broken lives could be repaired the same way. That man wouldn't have touched dirty money. That man was dead. Ethan spent the day walking through the city, not collecting scrap, not hiding, just watching. Families, offices, people complaining about small things, normal life. $10 million could buy any of it. And yet, it couldn't buy his way back into it. He realized something painful. Money doesn't give you a new life. It cuts you off from the old one. That night, Ethan burned his last piece of his past, his real ID. The fire curled the plastic, erased the name. Ethan Cole died quietly in a motel sink. Whoever survived next would not be innocent. Power doesn't announce itself. It shifts the air. Ethan felt it the moment he stopped reacting and started observing. Fear had ruled him. Panic had cost him money. But now something colder took its place. Calculation. He rented a small apartment under a new name, paid 6 months in advance. Cash. No drama. The landlord didn't ask questions because questions were expensive. Inside those 4 bare walls, Ethan laid everything out. Not the money, the pattern. Someone had followed him from the storage unit. Someone had waited. Someone patient. That kind of patience usually belonged to 2 types of people, professionals or desperate men. Ethan tested the city. He changed routines, walked different streets, used buses, subways, silence. And slowly, the shadows stopped appearing. That told him something important. He wasn't being hunted constantly. He was being checked. One night, he made his first intentional move. He left a small bundle of cash in a trash bag near the old warehouse where he had first found the money. Wrapped, obvious, almost careless. Then he watched. A car came. Same engine sound, same quiet confidence. Confirmation. Ethan smiled for the first time in weeks. Power didn't come from money. It came from knowing who was afraid of losing it. The note was folded neatly, too neatly. Ethan found it taped to his apartment door the next morning. You're not as invisible as you think. No signature, no threat, no demand. That made it worse. Someone wasn't rushing. They were confident. Ethan didn't touch the note with his bare hands. He burned it in the sink, watching the paper curl into nothing. Messages were meant to live in the mind, not on evidence. That afternoon, his phone rang. A number he didn't recognize. He answered anyway. You took something that doesn't belong to you, a calm voice said. Male, educated, not angry. I found trash, Ethan replied. A pause, then a soft laugh. Trash doesn't come in bank straps. They agreed to meet. Public place, busy street, noon, power likes witnesses. The man was already there when Ethan arrived. Mid-40s, clean suit, no rush in his movements. Call me Daniel, he said. I work for people who misplaced something. Misplaced? Ethan asked. Daniel smiled. Words matter. They sat. Daniel leaned in slightly. $10 million creates ripples. You stepped into one. Ethan met his eyes. So what happens now? Daniel's smile faded. That depends on whether you're smart or lucky. Ethan understood. Luck had brought him here. Smart was what came next. Ethan didn't trust anyone. Not after the storage unit, not after the shadow, not after the IRS. But Daniel seemed calm, controlled, not desperate, not greedy. And that made him dangerous. They met in a small cafe, tables spaced wide apart. Daniel slid a folder across the table. Inside, Photographs, bank transfers, surveillance shots of the rail yard. Ethan's rail yard, his stash, his first mistake. "Your luck isn't invisible," Daniel said. "People notice. People remember." Ethan leaned back. "What do you want?" "Simple," Daniel said. "Keep half the money safe. No one else gets it. I guarantee you protection." Ethan laughed. "Protection? From who?" Daniel didn't answer. He just smiled, eyes sharp, calculated. "From everyone who cares about that money." Ethan realized the offer was as clean as it could be, on the surface, but underneath, hidden teeth. He had a choice: keep running, risk it all, live in fear, make a deal, trust the system, even slightly. Ethan picked up the folder, read every detail, every angle, every photo. It was tempting, too tempting. And the first time in weeks he didn't feel invisible. He felt seen. Ethan trusted Daniel just enough to test him. He left a small bundle in a nondescript alley, wrapped, obvious. Not his best hiding spot. Not careless, but calculated. Then he waited. Daniel arrived on time. Calm, precise. He picked up the money, checked it, then disappeared into the city. Ethan thought he had won, until he returned to the apartment. The door was ajar, no signs of forced entry. The remaining money was untouched. But something else was missing. The folder, all of it, gone. Daniel had played the first move, and Ethan realized the truth. Even allies could be predators. Ethan didn't panic. He didn't cry. He calculated. Every detail of the day, the alley, the bag, the timing. The shadow hadn't moved. Daniel had used him, tested him, learned. Ethan smiled coldly. The game had changed. He wasn't invisible anymore. He was a player. Ethan didn't wait. He moved quickly, silently, like a shadow himself. He retraced every step from the day Daniel had taken the folder. Every alley, every cafe, every corner. And he noticed something Daniel had overlooked. Patterns. Humans leave them. The same bus, the same timing, the same glance from across the street. Ethan marked everything in his mind. No paper, no evidence, only memory. Then he acted. A small package, wrapped identically to the bundle Daniel had taken, left in a crowded square. Obvious, tempting. Ethan didn't watch. He vanished into the crowd. Minutes later, a car slowed near the package. A hand reached out. The shadow? No. Daniel? Almost. Ethan had created a trap without touching it. He smiled. The rules had changed. He wasn't just hiding anymore. He was controlling the game. From that moment, Ethan realized something dangerous and true. Power isn't about money. Power is about perception. Ethan didn't celebrate. Victory tasted bitter. The trap had worked. Daniel had taken the bait, but only partially. The package was empty, a decoy. Daniel had moved slower than expected, hesitated at the right moment. Ethan now knew Daniel was cautious, patient, dangerous. But Ethan also realized something else. The shadow was still out there, watching, learning, waiting. He couldn't stay in one place, not for a day, not for an hour. Ethan packed what remained of his money, divided it into smaller hidden portions, apartments, lockers, even a locker at a gym he visited under a false name. Every move was a calculation. And with each calculation, Ethan felt a strange thrill. The kind of thrill only someone who has touched danger and survived feels. He had won the first round, but he knew the fight was far from over. And somewhere, deep in the city, both Daniel and the Shadow were planning their next moves. Ethan smiled. He was ready. Ethan's apartment looked ordinary. A small living room, bare walls, cheap furniture. But inside his mind, a storm was brewing. He had mapped every alley, every street, every face he had seen in the last 2 weeks. Daniel thought he was cautious. The Shadow thought he was invisible. Both were wrong. Ethan split the remaining money into 10 small portions. Each portion had a story, a trail, a false lead. One left in a dumpster behind a busy cafe, wrapped in fake bills on top. One in a locker under a false name with surveillance cameras nearby. Another tucked into the underside of a park bench, wrapped to look forgotten. Every location was a puzzle, and every puzzle told a different lie. Then Ethan watched. He followed Daniel from afar, tracing the man's habits, his eyes, his phone movements. Daniel never touched a package without scanning his environment first. The shadow didn't move, but Ethan left subtle clues. Trash in different streets, minor distractions, a newspaper folded oddly. Ethan realized the truth he had been avoiding. Money was only valuable because people wanted it. People could be manipulated. Observation was more powerful than violence. For the first time, Ethan felt untouchable. The city was full of predators, but so was he. And now, he was ready for the final rounds. Ethan knew the end game had begun. He felt it in the way the city held its breath. Daniel had grown bolder. He tested the packages, traced the false trails. The shadow stayed invisible, but Ethan knew the eyes were everywhere. He had one choice: act first or be crushed. Ethan chose to act. A final rendezvous. A warehouse by the river, abandoned for years. Only one entrance. Surveillance blind spots everywhere. He moved the last 2 portions of cash there, each bundle marked with fake serial numbers, a dummy tracker, and decoy leads pointing in opposite directions. Then he waited. Daniel arrived first, calm, confident, checking his surroundings. He approached a package and froze. Ethan stepped out of the shadows. "No sudden moves," Ethan said. "This city belongs to neither of us, but I get to choose tonight." Daniel's eyes narrowed. "I know who you are." "And I know who you are," Ethan replied. "You just didn't expect someone else to learn the rules this fast." The shadow appeared from above, a figure in dark clothes, silent as the night. 3 forces, 1 prize. Ethan realized it wasn't just the money anymore. It was respect, survival, mastery. Minutes stretched. Tension burned the air. And then Ethan moved with precision. He triggered the decoy tracker remotely. He used mirrors to reflect Daniel's line of sight. He vanished into the city before either could catch him. The shadow had followed the wrong trail. Daniel had lost the bait. Ethan smiled. He had won the final round. For now. But he knew one truth above all. Power isn't permanent. Luck isn't eternal. And money is only the beginning. Ethan walked the city streets at dawn. The air was cool, quiet, empty. The money, 10 million, was no longer a burden. He had split it, hidden it, and tested every hand that tried to reach it. What remained with him was knowledge, survival, observation, and patience. He could buy anything, but he chose restraint. He smiled at a homeless man collecting cans. Something of himself in that man. A reminder, a warning. Power was seductive, but it was dangerous. Money could destroy more than it could create. The shadow was gone. Daniel had disappeared. Ethan was alone, but not afraid. He realized his fortune wasn't just money. It was choice. Choice to move, to vanish, to exist beyond rules. Choice to help or harm. Choice to become a legend or fade into obscurity. He walked into a quiet park and sat on a bench. He removed the watch he had bought with the first bundle of stolen cash, placed it in his pocket. Symbolic, yet grounding. And for the first time, Ethan smiled without calculation. The city could watch. The world could wait. He was free. The money, still alive in hidden pockets. Untouched, unclaimed. A promise for the future, but no longer a chain. Ethan Cole, the junk collector, the beggar, the survivor, now a master of his own destiny. And with that, the man who had once been invisible vanished, not into the shadows, but into his own life, finally.